The annual gala of Harrington and Associates was not a place for mistakes. Daniel Mercer knew this. He walked in anyway. No invitation. No connections. Just a pressed suit, a calm face, and one reason that outweighed every risk in that glittering room full of powerful people. His daughter. Emma had spent 2 years at this firm. Graduated top of her class. Earned every single thing she had, the way people earn things when no one hands them anything, when they grow up watching a single father pack school lunches at 6 in the morning and still make it to every soccer game. 3 weeks ago, her job offer vanished. No explanation. Just silence. Daniel made some calls. He learned the truth. One man. One careless comment in a partner's meeting. One decision made in 30 seconds that erased 2 years of his daughter's work. Emma didn't know he was here. She would be furious. He didn't care. He spotted Victor Harrington across the ballroom, expensive watch, easy smile, surrounded by people who had never once told him no. Daniel set down his glass. Started walking. And the night that no one in that room would ever forget, had officially begun. The annual gala of Harrington and Associates was not a place for mistakes. Every year, the most powerful names in finance, law, and corporate America gathered in the grand ballroom of the Meridian Hotel, chandeliers dripping with crystal, champagne poured before you even asked, conversations measured in millions. People spent months earning their invitations. Careers were built and destroyed in this very room. Daniel Mercer had not been invited. He had crashed it, quietly, deliberately, and for exactly one reason. His daughter. Daniel was 43 years old. A single father for the past 6 years, ever since his wife, Claire, passed away from an illness that moved faster than any of them were prepared for. He had raised Emma alone, school lunches, soccer practice, parent-teacher conferences, the whole exhausting, beautiful mess of it. Emma was now 22. Smart, driven, determined, everything her mother had been. She had graduated top of her class from Georgetown, landed an internship at Harrington and Associates, and worked herself to the bone for 2 years to earn a permanent position. 3 weeks ago, she had been offered one. Then, suddenly and without explanation, the offer was quietly pulled. Emma hadn't told her father the real reason. She'd said it was a budget issue, a hiring freeze, the usual corporate language designed to soften a blow. But Daniel had seen her cry at the kitchen table at 2 in the morning when she thought he was asleep, and Daniel Mercer had not raised his daughter to be cried over without someone answering for it. He made some calls. He still had contacts, old colleagues from his years as a mid-level accountant at a firm not unlike this one, before life changed direction on him. What he learned made his jaw tighten and his hands go still. The offer had been pulled because of a comment made by one man, Victor Harrington III. The founding partner's son. A man who had inherited his position, his penthouse, and apparently his belief that certain people simply did not belong in certain rooms. Victor had seen Emma's file. Had made a remark at a partners' meeting, something casual and dismissive, something about fit and the kind of image the firm projects. Nobody in that room had pushed back. The offer evaporated by the following morning. Emma didn't know any of this. She had simply accepted the rejection and started updating her resume. Her father had not accepted anything. Getting into the gala required a suit, confidence, and the name of someone who was genuinely invited but couldn't attend, a detail Daniel had obtained through the same network of old contacts. He walked in without fanfare, took a glass of water from a passing tray, and stood quietly near the edge of the room. He was not a dramatic man. He was not there to cause a scene. He simply needed to look Victor Harrington in the eye and say what needed to be said, with enough witnesses around that it couldn't be quietly buried afterward. He found Victor within 15 minutes. The man was exactly what Daniel had expected, mid-40s, expensive watch, the kind of smile that had never been challenged. He was holding court with a small circle of admirers near the center of the room, laughing at something he had apparently just said. Daniel walked over. Stood just outside the circle. Waited. Victor noticed him after a moment, the way powerful people notice strangers, with a slight narrowing of the eyes. "Can I help you?" "My name is Daniel Mercer," he said. Calm. Steady. "My daughter is Emma Mercer. You pulled her job offer 3 weeks ago." The circle went quiet. Victor's smile stayed in place, but something shifted behind it. "I'm not sure what you're referring to." "I think you are," Daniel said. Not loudly. Not aggressively. Just clearly. "She graduated with honors. She gave 2 years to this firm. She was offered a position she had earned, and you removed it in a partners meeting because you didn't like the way she looked on paper." By now, the conversations nearby had begun to die. The natural acoustics of the room, the way silence spreads like a drop of ink in water, had started doing their work. "I'd suggest you be very careful," Victor said quietly. "I am being careful," Daniel replied. "I've been careful my whole life. I was careful when I raised my daughter alone after her mother died. I was careful when I taught her that hard work matters, that integrity matters, that how you treat people says everything about who you are. I was careful to raise someone worth 10 of the people in this room." He wasn't raising his voice. That was the thing people would talk about afterward, how quiet he was. How still. How the words fell into the room like stones dropped into deep water. "She doesn't know I'm here," he continued. "She would be furious if she did. She's proud, she gets that from her mother. She would tell me she doesn't need rescuing and she'd be right. She doesn't. She's already found 2 other interviews. She'll land on her feet. She always does." He paused. "I'm not here for her career. I'm here because someone in this room needs to hear this said out loud, in public, with no ability to bury it in an email thread afterward." The entire ballroom had gone quiet now. Not because anything had been shouted, but because human beings, whatever their tax bracket, still recognize a certain kind of moral weight when it enters a room. Hundreds of conversations had simply stopped. Victor opened his mouth. Daniel raised one hand, gently, almost politely. "I'm almost done." And Victor, for reasons he probably couldn't fully explain later, closed his mouth. "You made a decision about my daughter based on something other than her ability. You sat in a room full of people who said nothing, and you took something from her that she had earned. I don't know what word you used. I've been told a few versions. It doesn't matter which one it was, you know what you meant, and so do the people who were in that meeting." He looked around the room slowly. Not with anger. With something steadier than that. "Some of you in this room have daughters. Some of you have sons. You've watched them work hard, stay late, push through every door that was supposed to be open to them. You know what it costs a young person to build themselves up in a world that keeps measuring them against things they can't change." He looked back at Victor. "I want you to know that Emma Mercer is going to be fine. She is going to walk into a room someday, maybe a room like this one, and she is going to belong there completely. She will have earned every inch of it. And when that day comes, she won't be thinking about you. You won't be worth the space in her memory." He straightened his jacket. "I just thought someone should say it. In a room full of witnesses. To your face." He nodded, not a bow, not a gesture of submission, just the quiet acknowledgement of a man who had said what he came to say, and he turned and walked toward the exit. He had taken perhaps 15 steps when the sound started. It was a single pair of hands, somewhere in the back of the room. Then another. Then a third. Then, slowly, unmistakably, in that enormous ballroom full of people who had spent their whole careers learning not to take sides, applause. Not thunderous. Not the performance of applause. The real kind, The kind that comes out of people almost without their permission, because something true has been said and the body responds before the mind can calculate the cost. Daniel didn't stop walking. He didn't turn around. He walked through the lobby, through the revolving door, and out into the cool night air. He stood on the pavement for a moment, hands in his pockets, and breathed. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma. *, Dad. Someone just called me from the gala. What did you do? *. He smiled. Typed back, nothing you wouldn't have done yourself in 10 years. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I'm so mad at you. I know. Thank you. He put the phone in his pocket and started walking toward the parking garage. 3 days later, a partner at Harrington and Associates, not Victor, a different one, a woman named Sandra Okafor who had been in the room that night, called Emma directly. She said that a position had reopened and that Emma's application was being reconsidered at the highest priority. Emma turned it down. She said she appreciated the call, thanked Sandra genuinely, and said she had already accepted an offer elsewhere, at a smaller firm, newer, hungrier, where the partners had interviewed her twice and told her directly that she was exactly what they were looking for. When she told her father, he laughed, really laughed, the kind that comes from somewhere deep, and she laughed too, and they sat at the kitchen table together the way they had sat at 10,000 kitchen tables over 22 years, just the two of them, figuring out the world. You know, she said, you are absolutely ridiculous. I know, he said. You could have been thrown out. Embarrassed. Arrested, maybe. Also possible. And you just stood there and said all of that. Someone had to. She looked at him for a long moment, the way children look at their parents when they suddenly see them not just as a parent but as a person, with a whole life behind them, with choices made and losses carried and love expressed in unexpected ways. Mom would have done the same thing, she said. Yeah, he said quietly. She would have done it better. Emma reached across the table and took her father's hand. Outside, the city moved on, loud, indifferent, full of rooms that decide who belongs and who doesn't. But in that kitchen, in the ordinary light of a Wednesday evening, a daughter held her father's hand, and neither of them needed anything more than that. Some people change rooms by shouting. Others do it by standing still and speaking the truth, quietly, clearly, and without apology. Daniel Mercer was the second kind. So, it turned out, was his daughter.